Okay, we're going to generate a custom data set using AI and Interzoid's text file batch tool. So in order to create a data set, we need to move from the existing APIs tab to the Create Your Own Dataset tab. And in this case, we're just going to take a text file, which is a list of company names, and then use these company names to generate data about each of these companies. So in order to do that, all we have to do is describe the data that we want to create right here, and then add the parameters that we're looking for, which can be basically anything that we imagine. And we will generate that data that we need. It's real-time, live, actual data, and that will become part of our output file. Now, to save some time and me typing all of that in, let's just go to a pre-created configuration. And you can see here by looking at this that it's pretty simple. We're describing data about companies. That'll help our AI engine along. And then these are parameters that we're looking for: location, website URL, revenue, number of employees, brief description, flagship product, just some standard data points, but of course these can be anything that you can imagine. I can also move them up and down, delete some, add some more, whatever it is I'm looking for. And then once we have that in place, you of course want to make sure you have an API key. The trial API key will be enough to run this demo. Just go to interzoid.com and you can just sign up with your email address. And of course we have some other resources you can link directly here. Some documentation and some videos you can watch and some other things. Information about the various models that we're using and so forth. And then we need to configure a few other things which you've already done. So column number is 1. This is a CSV file. And of course, if you've only got one column in our file, then of course it makes sense to have this be 1. Several different models to choose from. We're going to choose Model X here. You can play around with these. They do generate different results. The Model A Premium has a different cost structure. And this allows you to play around and see what kind of data you can generate with a smaller file. And then when you think you have what you're looking for, you can do, of course, much larger volumes of data. And then we need to choose our input file. That's the file that we just looked at. And of course, that can live either on the web via URL or via a local file that we can just open up. In this case, it's a local file. I'll go back to the data folder. And of course, here it is, company list. That's a file that we looked at earlier. And that's pretty much it. We're ready to go. All I need to do is come down here and click Run. And then the data will show up here in the window. You can see the header row with all the field parameters that we created over here, and then all the data that was actually retrieved for the generated data set. Now I can save this as a file, and then I can load it into Google Sheets or Excel or an analytics package or an AI model, whatever it is I want to do with the data that I've went and got via the AI engine. To make it a little more readable, let's display the results in a grid. And you can see here the various companies, the revenue, number of employees, year founded, CEO, brief description, flagship product, and scroll down. We can generate this sort it by year founded. So start with the oldest company, IBM. Again, this makes it just much easier to read and view than in the actual CSV or TSV file format. And that's pretty much it. Again, we're only limited by our imagination, what we can describe in the type of data, the parameters, and then of course we can save it here. And of course, if you want to see the actual batch API that was used, for example, you might want to integrate it into a pipeline or whatever you want. That's available down here. And then as I mentioned earlier in the resources and help, you can see the actual individual API that generates one record of data in case you want to integrate this into something. As data is coming through a web form, being collected on the web. There's a lot of different ways to integrate this, but if you're looking for a large file to generate, then the text file batch tool is an ideal tool to do that. So thanks again. If you want to try it out, head over to Interzoid.com, and then of course this tool is at batch.interzoid.com. Thank you.